I'm very happy to be here. The Scottish Human Rights Commission has just very recently become operational within the last few weeks, and we were established by the Scottish Parliament to protect and promote human rights of everyone throughout Scotland. And this was an issue that is very important for us to, right at the outset, try and build links and to work cooperatively with Paul and James going forward, because there is a very clear common cause between journalism, a free press, and human rights. And I just want to say a few words and then obviously pass on for matters that Paul will raise. But journalists matter. There is no doubt about that. If you just look around the world, internationally, last year 60 journalists were killed, 673 journalists were arrested, 929 were physically attacked, 353 newspapers were closed down, and 29 journalists were kidnapped. Almost 2,000 websites were closed down last year. Most of the places that this happened was where human rights were under assault, and these journalists were reporting on it, and that's why they were closed down. So the bigger picture is human rights and journalism, they very much go hand in hand, and when one suffers, the other suffers. When one's strong, the other is strong. The connection between journalism and human rights is both of us try to hold authorities to account, and both of us try to get the facts independently obtained out into the public domain so that the public can draw their own conclusions and hold their governments, their politicians, whoever, to account for what they think they should be held to account. And more than that, journalists and human rights activists like myself don't just want to present the facts, but want to provide some kind of independent analysis of these facts. How should they be understood? What do they actually mean in the world, which is becoming very complicated and has to be explained and clarified in a whole range of ways as it becomes more complicated. So, if you just look around, the last couple of weeks, I suspect the reason that Pauline's sick is that she and I were in a march in Edinburgh on Saturday on Gaza, as was Sandra, and we get soaked to the skin, and I'm not surprised that Pauline is not here. But if you just look at Gaza as a situation for reporting, broadcasting and print just now, it's not by accident that there are no journalists in Gaza. First, now, you don't have to be a genius to figure out why no journalists are allowed into Gaza. I'm a bit of a news junkie, and I've got one of these packages. I get TV channels from all over the world, and to try and get the facts as to what's going on in Gaza, I'm very selective. I don't watch much BBC news coverage of it. Channel 4 is worth looking at, and the reason it's worth looking at is they have a journalist, Alex Thompson, out in Jerusalem, and they have Jon Snow back in the studio. So they've got resources that we can actually have someone out there as close to Gaza as he is permitted to be. But both Alec and John also are very professional in the sense that when they interview anyone, from the Israeli Defense Force to Hamas to the Red Cross to the UN, they're professional that they know what the international legal framework is. They know who has obligations in international law to do what, so that they know what questions to ask. And those who are asked these questions, there's no hiding places. They are put on the spot. They will bluster. They will give answers to the extent that they're able to. But the watching public can draw its own conclusions because the right questions are put in the right way, and there's no under-resourcing, there's no lack of professionalism. So, very important that the public gets access to information and analysis of that information, and then they draw their own conclusions from that. Just the last thing, common cause between journalists and human rights bodies is that one of the first staff members that we recruited was a journalist, Jennifer Johnson, who's sitting back there, you'll know from Sunday Herald days and elsewhere. And one of the jobs that Jennifer is going to be doing in the next few months is preparing a pack for journalists on how to sort of unpack human rights, how to build their own capacity as journalists, as editors, as producers, as whatever, to be able to use their knowledge and understanding of human rights to do the job even better than they are doing at present. So a lot of connections between us. I know this is a very compelling issue for you just now. Clearly, we get empathy for what's happening in the contracts and the negotiations that are taking place. But going forward, and the role of the press and journalists in society being part of a healthy democracy, that's where we really would like to develop an ongoing relationship with the NUJ and through the NUJ yourselves. And I hope this is just the start of working together in that.